I know what you're thinking, there's no such thing as a perfect knife. Hello YouTube, well it's another weekend, the weather is fantastic, it's October now, well late September, early October, and it's just, this is my favourite time of year. The temperature's dropping, so it's getting nice and fresh and cold in the mornings. You get mist, you get all sorts of great weather effects going on. If you have a look at these couple of pictures now, you'll see my local just common where people walk their dogs and things. It's just fantastic, fantastic light at the moment, especially for photography and wildlife and things like that. So what's been going on? Lots has been going on. Just grab my coffee. Still quite early, so I'm still waking up. Loads of stuff's been going on. I made another top quilt, which is awesome. Deep winter. I think it goes down to -15, maybe more, centigrade, and it's done with fabric that I designed the design, and then it's been printed on the fabric, and then I made the ultralight quilt. So I'll do another video on that. It's going to be awesome. What else has been going on? Made loads of stuff, loads of bags and new things, been trying out new seats and all that kind of stuff, and something else has happened as well, which is what this video is about. I bought myself a knife. I got some Moras and things like that, just your basic sort of starting off bushcraft knife, but I really wanted a special knife. In fact, I wanted more than that. I wanted a perfect knife. Now, I know you're all screaming at me saying there's no such thing as a perfect knife, and there's different tasks and different people, and you can't, it's impossible. Well, the reason I say it is because this knife is perfect for me. Everything I wanted out of a knife is in this knife, and for me it's perfect. For you, maybe not, and you've got different needs, and maybe you need a big parang or something like that, or butterfly knife, or whatever knife you like, but for me this is exactly what I want. This is going a little bit back to bushcraft, so it's a bushcraft knife, and it will be my knife that I carry when I'm out in the woods and hammocking and things like that. So I'll show you the knife first. So here's the knife. You want to know where to buy it, don't you? Well, you can't really buy it, which I like a lot. You can't buy this knife, you can buy similar knives, but you can't buy this knife. So I wanted a knife that was made by someone in the UK, so it's a British made knife, and I wanted something that was specific to my specification, and I wanted all the leather work to be hand done. I wanted the best, well, I wanted a particular steel, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I wanted some innovation in there and things like that. So this is what we've got. So this is a knife made by a guy. He's not a professional knife maker. He doesn't do it for a living, but he just does it as a hobby, and he does an amazing job. And his name's Steve, and he's from Fieldcraft Leather. So I'll put the link down below in the notes, and I'll put it up on the screen maybe. And the best way to contact him or to chat to him or to see the stuff that he does, go to his Facebook page, and everything you need is there really. He does this kind of thing, which is a hybrid between a commercial kind of blade and then a custom handle and custom leatherwork, or he'll do a completely custom knife with his own design blade, with a local forge that he partners with to do the metalwork side, and he does pretty much anything you like, but the quality of his work is amazing. So this is his design sheath. This is scout carry or strap carry. So this is a removable piece on the back. We'll have a close look in a minute. You can take this off and you can carry it horizontal on your belt through these loops, or you can have it on your belt hanging like that. It's up to you. So I quite like that, to have that option. Now there is a concern with scout carry. You can either have it in the small of your back on the belt or on the side. I like it on the side, so you can sit down without it digging into you. There is a view with scout carry knives that you must have a little clasp over the end to stop it coming out. Well, that is true for some knives, but not for this knife, because the leather's been wet moulded in such a way that it gives an incredibly tight fit. So there's nothing, that knife is never going to come out. The knocking's that the knife is never going to come out on its own, but it does give enough friction to let's take the knife out. We'll have a look in a minute. So you can hear it, you can hear the leather, you can hear the friction on the knife is just perfect. So you can see where it kind of bows in, grips it, around the belly of the knife is the most friction, I guess. And then you can see where it's been wet moulded to the exact knife, not just knives of this type, but this precise knife. So this is a great sheath, tool leather, veg tan, it's been dyed, it's been burnished, it's been hand stitched. We'll have a look at it later. And then you got the knife itself. So just have a look at the knife. You'll notice the blade has got a logo on it. We'll look close in a minute. And it's so it's from Breezer, which is in Finland. And they make a range of products that they brand themselves called Enzo. They've got loads of Enzo blanks and all bits and pieces for, you can buy a whole kit for an Enzo knife if you want. But this was just the blade. So this is an Enzo Trapper blade. The standard blade is 95 centimeters. This is 115 because I wanted it a bit longer for battening, so it sticks out a bit longer for battening. It's a 4mm full tang blade. It's got a Scandi grind, so perfectly symmetrical Scandi grind. What I wanted in particular, why a lot of people can't forge it themselves, is I wanted the Elmax steel. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. And then we've got the handles, Cocobolo wood, very high in natural oils, so it's very good for long-term wear, very dense, it sinks in water, so it's a very dense wood, and it gives a lovely finish and it's very robust. I wanted this to be a working knife, not just a show knife, so it's got the Corby bolts, rather than just glued, it's actually clamped as well with these Corby bolts in brass, and it's got white liners. You can see the white liners there, which contrast nicely with the Cocobolo. So that's the blade. It's got a custom handle, which we'll look at in a minute, and yeah, it's a beautiful knife. So I'll bring you in, have a little look in detail and see what this is all about. So this is the knife. Let's talk about the sheath first. So the sheath is all in veg tan tooling leather, hand dyed to like a dark brown. It's to match the Cocobolo on the scales. All these are removable, so obviously this is your hanger off the belt. It's very secure. It's got antique brass fittings. And then you got this, and when this is on your belt, there's no rattle, it's nice and tight, doesn't move around, it's absolutely sturdy on the belt, and you can obviously mount it horizontal. And you can see on all the straps and everything, it's the highest quality products, everything's burnished, everything's very professionally done. See the little crease joint in there. There we go. So it's been wet formed or wet moulded, which means obviously you wet the leather and you press it over the knife, which is covered in some sort of waterproof like cling film or something. You mould it to the shape of the knife, so this is exactly the right shape for the knife. So you can see it's a perfect fit. So I'm doing this through a camera, so there you go. It sticks out a little bit longer than a normal sheath, but it's still tight. And the reason for that is because I didn't want a lanyard hole, specifically didn't want a lanyard hole. So you need a little bit more room at the end to have a safe draw on the knife. So he's changed this slightly to be a little bit shorter than normal. Normally it'd come up another 15mm up to here if you got a lanyard hole. Why didn't I have a lanyard hole? Well, for me lanyards just get in the way. I think the purpose of a lanyard really is just to have a plain leather cord that goes around your wrist to secure the knife in your hand. So it come out here around your wrist and here. I think the ones that are kind of paracord and laced and things, they're very decorative. Can give you a little bit extra if your hand's too long for the handle to grip onto. But for me it just gets in the way. It's just another thing flapping around, which I don't like. So I just wanted it neat with no lanyard hole. And this is the good thing, when you have a knife custom made, you can dial in exactly what you want to the kind of spec that you want. So the knife itself, you can see, let's have a look up close. You can see Enzo, laser etched I think, and you've got the Elmax. Let's have a look. Yeah, you've got the Elmax logo in there, and it's a kind of a weird metal. Elmax is made from a powder, different powdered metals, and then fused together in moulds, very special moulds, and then forged. But it's exceptionally fine grain. It's not like other steels when you look at it. It's got a weird surface that's very, very fine. And the idea is that it's as hard as carbon steel, but has very, very good stainless properties. So you get the best of both worlds, and these are called super steels. And there's a few of them out now. This is not the only one. But the hardening process for these is quite complex, and you need very, very consistent kind of results in terms of temperature and techniques and things like that. I think in the quenching phase it also has a cryogenic phase, so it uses liquid nitrogen to cool it at a certain point in the quenching as well, to form very fine crystals, grain structure in the steel. So this is not something that's very easy to do DIY or in your home forge. This kind of needs a professional production line almost to get consistency over a lot of blades. So this blank was sourced for me by Steve from Breezer. So it's a true Scandinavian blade. It's got a Scandi grind, and if you don't know what Scandi grind is, it's a bit difficult to see. It's where you have a completely angle there, a V point if you like. Now I'm not sure if it's got a micro bevel on it. Sometimes you get a little tiny bevel at the end. I don't think it has. I think it's a true Scandi, which I like. The reason I wanted a Scandi grind, you can get different grinds, was because it's easy to sharpen. I can sharpen it on my water stones, no problem. And you can maintain it in the field very easy. And I just like it for bushcraft, for splitting, for fire sticks, for making tent pegs and poles and things. It's just ideal. So I like to keep it simple. Sometimes they do a Scandi grind with a slight convex on it, and they call it a Scandivex. But I'm just going to keep it a pure Scandi grind, because I really like that. So that's the blade. So the blade is full tang, so it goes down here, comes around, and it's got various hollow in and holes in the handle in here to lighten it and give it balance. So it's a perfectly balanced knife. You can balance it on your finger, just about there. And that's for various options. So it does have a hole, lanyard hole in the blank, in the metal blank, but I didn't use it on this one. Corby bolts, there's holes ready for that in the blade. Now, something that Steve did, and I'm glad he did, is this is not the shape of a Enzo Trapper. It's not the traditional shape, it's much more square at this end, it's got a different thing here, and it's got different finger grip or choles or whatever you like to call it under here. So he reprofiled the whole of this back section to the way that he likes, and I'm really glad he did, because I find it a much more comfortable hold. In terms of shaping, he's got the classic belly here, palm belly, and then he's got the taper towards the back of the knife, and then he's got all the pommel, and then he's got the he's got a slight curvature there going across, and then at the front there's a taper at the front which tapers down. It's kind of a 3D shape, it's not just kind of 2D square. So you've got this profile in here, so this is great for in your hand with the little finger coming in here. Obviously the little finger's shorter, so you can't have it on this kind of belly, you want it to wrap around more, so it comes up to here. And with this kicker at the end and this shape here, you can grip it and there's very little chance of it coming out of your grip. And it was sized specifically for my hand, so it comes just out the back of my hand. I've got quite small hands, so it just comes out the back, which is absolutely perfect. And then on the front, we've got very square guards here, and I like that. So if anything's slipping down the blade, it's going to hit the guard and not, if there's a very big chamfer here, there's a chance it can go up and go into your hand, but with a square, well, not totally square, but fairly square guard, it does protect it quite a lot. So I like that a lot. It's hard to see the grain of the wood, but the grain's very fine. It's got great tones in the wood, the grain of the wood. Because it's such high in natural oils, with Cocobolo, you don't really need to stabilise the wood, which is replacing the oils with a plastic or a resin. This will do just fine as it is, so keep it a bit more natural, which I really like. Some woods, especially some soft woods, it wouldn't really work, but with these super dense, super hard woods, you don't need to stabilise so much. So you got the shape, so these have been shaped specifically to Steve's design, and also the end's been shaped and the kicker's been shaped. So overall it's probably the most comfortable knife I've ever held. There's no hot spots, so there's no bumps or edges that are out of alignment in the profile, which over time would wear on your hand. It's one of the most comfortable knives that I've ever held. You've got white fibre liners, there you go, on either side. So for those of you who don't know, you get the steel tang, and then this is glued to the liners, or well, the liners are glued to the wood, and the liners are glued to the wood, and then the wood and the liners are glued to the knife, and they're bolted as well, and then those are filed down smooth, and it's absolutely smooth. And it's kind of got a satin finish to it, which I really like. So it's not super slippery, it's not a high gloss one, it gives you a little bit of grip, but it's super smooth. So that's the knife, exactly how I wanted it, the right size, the right handle, the right woods, the right construction. Can't wait to sharpen it actually. It is very sharp now, it's from the factory. I might put a mirror edge on it, I don't know yet, I'm deciding. We'll see how that goes in due course, but yeah. So that's the knife, so a beautiful knife. So this is kind of an in-between thing between a completely custom knife where they actually forge the metal and forge the blade to their personal shape, and a full and a kind of finished knife where the blade is provided and you do all the other work around it, all the leather work and the handle, etc. So you end up with a custom knife, but with a blade which is a little bit different and a little bit special. So yeah, this will last me a long time. This is kind of an heirloom piece. This will be passed down to my children. Unfortunately, or fortunately I should say, I've got 2 children, so I'll have to ask Steve to make me another knife. So I'll have a different one, obviously. I might go for Elmax again because I really like the Elmax, but yeah, I would go for different colours or something like that, different woods perhaps, but same style without a doubt. So yeah, there you go. That is the Fieldcraft leather custom knife with Elmax steel, reprofiled handles, Corby bolts, Cocobolo white liners, all custom leather sheath, which is dangle or scout carry. That is the knife. Now, this particular knife, with all of its configuration, is named the Orca. So this is the Fieldcraft leather Orca knife. So if you're asking for something similar, if you contact Steve for anything, if you mention it's the Orca, he will know what that knife is and what's involved and what all the various bits are. If you want prices and things, obviously there's a huge amount of work that goes into one of these knives. A huge amount of manual work and manual labour. So this is definitely not cheap. This is not your Mora mass-produced knife. This is everything custom. There's a lot of discussion that goes on. There's a lot of working out what kind of knife suits you best, what kind of tasks you want to do with your knife. And the whole process for me took about 6 months, I suppose, from initially saying I want you to make me a knife to getting the knife in my hand. And that includes all of the discussion, all of the choosing of the parts of the knife and the actual production of the knife itself. He's only one guy doing this as a hobby. It's not his full-time job or anything like that. But I think you can see he's done a fantastic job. And for sure, it's as good as any knife I've ever seen. So, if you're interested, contact Fieldcraft Leather. I'll put the link in the notes below, and or if you want a sheath or anything like that, obviously he does everything that you need. You can make pretty much anything out of leather, and he's a pretty good knife builder as well, as you can see. So, thank you very much for taking the time to look at my knife. I'm really chuffed with this knife, I think you can tell. I like things that are made just for you and are not mass produced. I like things that are locally crafted by craftsmen that put all their heart and soul, and there's a bit of Steve's spirit in this knife as well. I think anything that's made to that level of quality obviously has a bit of the personality of the person who made it in it. So yeah, the Fieldcraft Leather Orca, awesome knife, awesome guy who made it. Check him out. He's got some great pictures of knives on his page, from his own forged knives to right up to custom builds. So yeah, if you like your knives, go and have a look at that. And thanks for watching this vid. Thanks for indulging me to show you this knife, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, bye.